and welcome to another episode of Pop.vox Presents. I'm Phil Vecchio, and today I am joined by Jesse Norell.
Hello.
Welcome back. Welcome
Thank
back.
you. Thanks for having me, Phil.
Absolutely. You know, when you come back for a second episode, you know your first one went well, right?
I suppose it did.
That's right. That's good. Before we go too far, I also got to introduce Janelle, who's always here.
I gotta be careful so I don't knock everything
That's
over.
good.
Hello.
Keeping things running behind the scenes. If you're watching live, Janelle will be taking care of the live comments and stuff like that. So make sure you drop a message to her over there. Awesome. Well, Jesse, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. And we're going to talk about your newer project. Last time we talked about your Aorta Borealis album, and of course we'll get updates on that type of stuff. But today, our main focus is we're talking about Riffin Griffin.
Yup.
This is like your kid, well, I got to be careful how I say it, your child-oriented rock stuff.
Right. Should I just kind of explain what that is?
Yes. Please tell us
Okay.
about Riffin Griffin.
So the story goes like this. When I was in my mid-20s, I tried to play in an actual serious rock band. And then, there was this sort of disconnect between how fun it was to make music and how awful it was to try to make a living making music. And so I just sort of was like, nah, that balance is too imbalanced. And I kind of stopped doing it for 15 years. And then my daughter Alyssa came along, and this is, what you know and what anyone who heard our thing 2 years ago knows is that she needed open heart surgery when she was born. She actually ended up having two of them before she was 3 years old, and it wrecked me pretty good. And when the smoke cleared and everybody was stable and we were all okay and we all made it, I ended up writing this album about it, which was a big deal because I hadn't written anything in a long time, and I wrote this sort of orchestral pop rock album that I had always wanted to make, and it sort of had this theme, this story that was being told about my daughter going through all this stuff. And then by the end of the record, there are these songs that you're familiar with, like You Are, and The Lucky Few, and some of these other ones. And it got some press. I got on Good Morning America for a minute, and I got on the local news and just telling the story of, the whole thing. And then when it was done, I came into the same sort of that was super fun to make. Making money doing this is still no fun. I don't like doing it. But I don't want to just go into a cave again for 15 more years. And the question I got asked a bunch by the different interviews and stuff I did was, so wait, does your daughter sing on the album? So wait, is this children's music? I'm like, well, first of all, go listen to it, please, because I sent it to you. And second of all, no, it's about her. And but it's not, it's not made with her.
Right.
And then I started thinking, but I could do that. Why not? And then so we had all these family songs that we used to sing. Once upon a time there was Alyssa, and Alyssa was super duper great. And we just had these little 20-second melodies that we would just sing to each other. And I'm like, what if I made those Rage Against the Machine, MXPX, these sort of punk rock anthems out of these silly songs that my family sings about taking a bath and whatever else. I'm like, that sounds hilarious. I'll do that while I figure out how to make a music for adults again. And then it just sort of ended up being the thing. And I'm not sure that I plan on going back. It's been super fun to do. And we're sort of, not to get ahead of myself, but we're kind of entering phase 2 already here, where I kind of ran out of songs to do that already existed, these melodies that my family would sing. And then I asked myself, okay, well, if I wrote a children's song, what would that sound like? And so I wrote a song about Pokemon and capitalism. And it's like the heaviest song I've ever written. It's bananas. I wrote another song about Super Mario's butt stomp move,
Mm.
and I wrote it on a baritone guitar, so it's like super extra heavy. And I'm just having a blast because like the thing I told myself when I was making Aorta Borealis was like, don't strum distorted electric guitars because like nobody does that anymore. That's what you always used to do. Like keep it light, you know,
Right.
like try not to overwhelm. I'm not trying to like kick any doors down with this record. And now it's just the opposite. I'm like, well, what excited me when I was little
Right.
and what would excite me if I were kids right now? Because I think about like my guitarist, he always says I think Metallica is children's music because it's so like rambunctious and it has that sort of energy that like a child has
Right.
when they're just like bouncing off the walls. And I'm like, he's right. And if you didn't have all of like the adult oriented lyrics of Rage Against the Machine, like how much would kids love just the energy in that stuff?
Yeah, it's
And I'm like,
fun.
well, right. And I'm like, well, that's what I'm gonna do. That's my job is to make, you know, ridiculous songs that have that sort of edge to them. You know, so like I mentioned a lot of punk rock and Muse is a big influence for this band and uh, Jimmy Eat World and just all of those kind of bands that I enjoyed that I just think kind of have that energy. And the last thing I'll say is that one of the things that led to this was at one point I asked myself, is the end of Aorta Borealis, is that children's music? Or if it was like 10 songs longer, would it eventually like I don't want to say devolve, but I'll use that word because it came to mind. Would it eventually become children's music? I'm
Right.
like, I think so. So am I already headed down that path? Is that the direction that I'm going? Okay, let's just see where that goes. And so far it's been an absolute blast. I'm having a great time.
It's super awesome. It's funny because I remember in the last time we had you on the show, you kind of hinted at like what you're doing next, and you said, "Oh, I'm gonna do like a kids band, but it's like Rage Against the Machine." And I'm like, "Ha ha ha!" And you're like, "No, no, I'm serious." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that sounds awesome." And then that here we are. So
Yep.
that was, I mean, it wasn't something I thought of before, but man, like it works. We're gonna see some of the songs in a little bit, but it is so much fun because one of the things, like, you know, we have kids and so we've had a lot of experience with this. There's like a weird balance between stuff that's like targeted at kids that, like, you know, maybe like appeals to adults a little bit, you know, and that maybe sometimes it's educational more than fun, and where to strike those balances is kind of challenging because there's a lot of like inane content made for kids, you know.
Hmm.
That as a parent you're like, oh my gosh, please, I don't want to watch this anymore. So
Right.
I think what you've struck upon here is something that's fun for everybody and has, you know, educational and you know, beneficial lyrics and stuff. It's really cool.
Well, thank you. And yeah, you know, some of it is like if you we've got I think 12 or 13 songs on Spotify at this point, and most of it is quite silly. But the I'm working on this is something I haven't told anybody about yet,
Ooh,
but I've got some material that's about kids and mental health. So it's still kind of got, you know, it's still like rock stuff. It would remind you a lot of like You Are and Oda Luigi and kind of the end of Aurora Borealis. Um, but and I was kind of like, again, is this children's music or is it just music about children? I'm like, anything that is targeted that I want, if it's something that I would want a child to hear, then it's a Riffin Griffin song, and that's just sort of my criteria for it. So I'm trying to partner with. I'm looking at some different organizations that work with kids and their mental health and seeing if I can partner with them to sort of fund this record and also, um, you know, work with them on like lyrical content. Like, what
right.
do you see when you have your kids, your clients come in every day that are struggling? What themes do you see? What would you want a song? If a kid's favorite song was positive, what would you want it to be about? Like that sort of stuff. So there's a number of different ideas I have in the works, and a lot of the songs are written or half written already.
That's so cool. Yeah, I mean, because not every song, I mean, I said educational, but not every song has to be like teaching the alphabet. Like there's so many
Right.
different things to learn about, social things or just physical moving around or whatever it is. So that's
Yeah.
really cool. I really, really, really like this. And I wish we had Riffin Griffin when our kids were, I mean, like they still are going to enjoy it, but the
Yep.
target age range is probably a little bit younger than they are now.
Maybe. Although, I mean, a big inspiration for me, like, do you like animated movies? I
Oh,
think we might have talked about this last
I
time.
definitely do. Janelle is, she's a codger,
I
an
like
old
some
codger.
Disney animated movies.
Yeah, it
Pixar.
takes a little twisting of the arm for her, but I love animation. So
I just like, I mean, if you can watch the movie Up, I mean, and not cry, like I don't think you're an actual human being.
you
Like,
liked Up.
I did like them.
Okay, there we go.
I mean, if you look at it on the surface, right? It's this guy who puts balloons on his house and like flies away, and you're like, that is for children. That is silly. That is not for me. And then you watch, and you're 20 minutes in, and you're weeping, and you're like, okay, this is working on multiple levels at once, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the really good animated movies are working on multiple levels, and so that's kind of what I'm often trying to do is because the reason that I'm gonna keep doing this is because I think I'm making some of the best music I've ever made because I love it.
Yeah.
And it's not watered down at all, and so it's working on like a lot of people tell me I have this song called A is for Apple. I don't know if you've heard this one.
Yes.
But you mentioned the alphabet. It teaches the alphabet like horribly. Does not do a good job. But that's, just, and a lot of adults have told me like that song is just the best rock song. So anyway, I think adults seem to really like this project. Kids seem to really like this project. The ones where I get pushback are kids who are trying to like exit kidhood and enter adulthood. They're trying to leave that stuff behind, and they sort of go, no, I don't do children's music.
Right.
The whole world of music has been open to me, whereas before I only could listen to children's music, so why would I do that now? And I get that.
Yeah.
But if I can just get them to like listen for a couple of minutes and see if they dig it, sometimes
It's
I can
fun.
convince them.
By the way, the Apple one, like it doesn't teach the alphabet so much, but it's like phonics, right? Is that right? Am I saying it right? Phonetic phonics?
Yeah.
So it's like Apple, B is for Bapple, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's phonemic awareness.
There we go. I knew there was an official teacher name for it.
Yes.
It's the building block of phonics.
Yeah, so that is an important. It may not teach the alphabet necessarily in the same way, but
you have to be able to rhyme in order to understand how sounds
there we go.
work.
Well, I mean, the joke on that one is like, rock singer runs out of time and can't think of a rhyme for apple, so he just says Bapple, and then he just keeps going.
It's fantastic. There's also another one with a spelling, hungy.
Oh yeah,
Hungy.
Hungy. It's just the misspelling things for fun is the point of that.
Yeah,
that song.
great.
And that my nephew used to say hungy, and so I was sort of poking fun at him when he was little, and he thinks it's hilarious.
That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, Janelle, I'm getting
Audrey wanted to chime in.
We've got to chime in a comment
Audrey,
here. Yes.
On the Up Talk, she said, "I didn't cry watching Up. I guess I'm a robot." But then she said, "Then again, I don't cry at anything."
That's true. She does have a heart of ice. Yeah.
I didn't mean to insult anybody. That wasn't what I was saying. But no, it's really weird. For the first like 30 years of my life, I just like couldn't cry about anything. So I've definitely had that for a long time, and now I cry at everything.
Yeah.
But even when I didn't have like tears rolling down my face, I still felt like if I could cry, I would cry now. You know, I don't know if that makes any sense.
That's what Audrey says. She's feeling.
Right. She's like, I feel emotion. It just doesn't like translate to like tears.
It's the same thing. That's your version of crying, Audrey. Is that did I get the name right? So
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say that qualifies.
Yeah.
Because like how many animated films are about dealing with kids and grief. Like a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot. They always kill off a
Or
parent
a
or
dead
two.
parent or divorce or something. Yeah.
And then there are some movies that have come out that are just like the emotions are the characters of the movie.
Right.
So like there's a couple of those. So
Yeah.
yeah, they really get into it.
They do. I was like you though. Like for me, I never
Never.
cried at stuff until when we had kids that like flipped the switch, and then I
What
cried
is it
every
about what is it about having kids, man? It just like unlocks all this stuff that's eventually you want to lock back up, but it won't go away.
time. It does. I mean, I've embraced it now. Like I cry at everything if it's even remotely, emotional. But yeah, before that, like I
Yeah.
never cried.
You said like Mr. Holland's Opus.
I cried at Mr. Holland's Opus
And The Wedding Singer.
and The Wedding Singer, the two movies I ever cried at before we had kids.
Both having to do with music.
It is the music part, yeah.
Yep. And at least The Wedding Singer fits in the sense that, it's a comedy. And
Yeah.
like I cried at a comedy. That's because it's doing multiple things in the film.
Yeah. Yeah, it caught me by surprise. When he comes out and he's playing the guitar to her, I don't know, that song just got me. And Mr. Holland's Opus, when he gets to play his music at the end, that also got me. Now, if it's a commercial that like they call each other on the phone, I'm like, oh my gosh, she loves her mom,
Totally. I'm with you.
Yeah. So, anyway, thank you, Audrey, for commenting. And if you're watching live, you got any other comments or questions, send them our way.
Send them our way.
Yeah, if anyone is listening, just type in the chat or whatever any animated movies that make you emotional. I've got a list. I have a list of my top like 70 animated films of all time.
That's a good. That's a good call to action.
Janelle has like 10 total, I think.
If you want to know, just so you can generate ideas out there, Into the Spider-Verse is currently my favorite
Oh my gosh,
movie
yes.
ever. Mitchell's versus the Machines, number 2,
Also excellent.
and actually Moana is number 3.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Okay, for me, my favorite has always been The Little Mermaid.
That was my favorite when I was a kid, for sure. And everyone was always like, "That's one's for girls," and I'm like, "I love it. What am I gonna tell
Yeah.
you?"
No, yeah, that never bothered me.
Nope.
Now as an adult, though, and especially because I have a daughter,
Dad.
I used to watch it and like I was seeing it through the eyes of the Little Mermaid type of thing. It's all that story's about the dad for me, and it's all about him like learning that like he has to let his daughter grow up and like be her own person and letting go of that control. Like that's to me, that's what that movie is, and it resonates on a whole different level now.
Yes.
So.
Again, working on multiple levels.
Yep.
And I felt like the new one put that into greater focus.
Yeah.
Like it's even more about the dad, I feel like.
Yeah.
The not live action, whatever you call that, because it can't be live action because it's happening underwater.
Yeah, semi-live. I don't know. Whatever.
No,
it is, yeah.
the CGI one. It's not a cartoon.
Yeah. No, that I really like that one too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good.
Plus, I liked the new song. We're totally like out in the weeds now, but the new song that Scuttle sings. I don't know if you remember that one. Which is what's her name?
Aquafina.
Aquafina. That song that she does.
Yep.
Hilarious. Okay.
I'd have to watch. Oh yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
The
Scuttlebutt.
pelican.
It's like a rap, kind of a rappy type of one.
that movie has some jams.
It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of amazing music that sometimes includes some rapping stuff. So what other like kid type of music did you play with your kids, or did you listen to, or maybe growing up, like any other stuff that you did enjoy?
Yeah. Well, growing up, I mean, I don't know. Growing up, it was all about the church music in my house.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more gonna talk about like currently what we listen to a lot.
That's good.
So, I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna get maligned for this, but I love Perry Grip, man. Do you know Perry Grip?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of out of the.
Yeah, we're out of like the current loop a little.
Okay, so I make I should see if I can send I can send a link to playlists that I've made. I don't know if I can send a link to my Spotify. I have a Riffin Griffin Spotify profile, like separate from my songs.
Okay.
If you can find that, I make a bunch of playlists of like I've got this one that's punk rock for kids, and it's this mix of children's music, punk rock, and then just like clean Green Day and Blink 182 and MX Five Iron Frenzy songs and all that, and stuff from like animated films that kind of has that punk aesthetic to it. And so like, yeah, Perry Grip is a big one for me. And then there's this silly band called the Punk Rock Factory that they mostly just do covers of like songs from animated films, like Do You Want to Do a Snowman, but like pop punk, and they are pretty funny. They do like everything they do sounds super clean. It doesn't sound like it's recorded in a garage, like it's all really professionally done. And then, I mean, I have to mention, and this will tie into our next segment, I'm sure, Cuckoo, formerly called Cuckoo Kangaroo. They abbreviated their name in the last year to just Cuckoo. And they were a big deal because my kids were, they had this thing where they do brain breaks at school, and they'd put on, what was the thing called? Go something. Anyway, my kids started talking about Cuckoo Kangaroo when they came home, and they would put it on. And some of the songs I was like, okay, I really like this. That's weird. And all their songs are funny. They're not trying to like, I don't know, be really address many serious topics. But they're basically a comedy duo. That's what they call themselves, a comedy duo. And they're more in like the hip hop genre most of the time.
Okay.
But they're hilarious, and I found out that they are also from Minnesota. They live like 20 minutes from me.
Oh.
And so I got to connect with them both like in person. I started taking my kids to their shows. We're all having a blast. And then when I was doing my Kickstarter for the last record, I said, okay, we hit like the threshold. And I was like, what people do now is they like make a extended, one. If we get to this number,
right.
Then I'll do something else. And what I said I was going to do is I was going to make a Rage Against the Machine version of this Cuckoo Kangaroo song called Leftovers that my daughter really liked, and she basically introduced me to from school. And so we ended up doing that, and that sort of led me down this path. And we made a music video for it, as a matter of fact.
Yes. I think that was a very smooth transition into let's watch that music video.
Awesome.
See what we've been talking about here. This is Riffin Griffin, Leftovers, and you guys are in for a treat. This is good. Here we go with Leftovers.
later. I'ma eat it later. I'ma eat it later. Put it in the refrigerator.
I got some Tupperware in this Tupperware. Dish it up and there's enough to share. A cardboard box full of veggie pizza. A mystery meal chilling in the freezer. A glass full of old casserole. No need to warm it up. Better believe I'll eat it cold. Straight to the face till I fill the belly. Might even eat a whole plate of mom's spaghetti.
I'ma eat it later. I'ma eat it later. I'ma eat it later. Put it in the refrigerator. I'ma eat it later. I'ma eat it later. I'ma eat it later. Put it in the refrigerator.
Got some Metro Pop Pie.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Got some chicken deep fry.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Got half a green
Wrap
lime.
it up. Wrap it up. We don't let our food spoil. Wrap it up in tin foil.
Got some tasty French toast.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Got a whole pot roast.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
This tofu looks real gross.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up. We don't let our food spoil. Wrap it up in tin foil. We don't let our food spoil. Wrap it up in tin foil. We don't let our food spoil. Wrap it up in tin foil.
I mean, everybody loves leftovers. Oh, really? Oh, man. I mean, it's certainly not as good, but it's also ready a lot faster. So
That's true.
there's that.
Leftovers. Well, and I feel like it gets a little, it grows the flavor a little bit. It amplifies it somehow.
Like leftover Chinese food. My wife makes fantastic Chinese food. She's from Taiwan. And the next day it's usually spicier because it's sort of like marinating more. And you're
Yeah.
like, whoa, that is
Me
bananas.
too.
Uh-huh.
Two peas
So
in a
it
pod here.
it has a different flavor profile the next day.
I
But
agree.
I mean, yeah, but obviously all the stuff that they were throwing together in that song is not recommended.
Now, that was some impressive performances from the whole family. And you mentioned that your son raps live.
Yeah.
Impressive
start-
stuff.
Because that video was from around the last time we talked a couple years ago. And, I got him in my little home studio here in this room. And, so he was learning how to breathe at the right times. And so we were able to get it done in the studio. I took a couple of takes and spliced them together and whatnot. But he's gotten better at it over the last couple of years, and it's just sort of ingrained in his head, so he can do it in his sleep now.
That's awesome.
And so we got hired by his school to come and perform. And I was like, do you want to do this? You don't have to. I don't want to create a situation where, you never want it to be a bad experience because,
Right.
You messed up or whatever. And he just crushed it. And my band, the guys in my live band, they love him so much. And they're just as much as he wants to come and perform with us, the better.
That's great.
Yeah, he's great. I've been asked if, Alyssa can come do it, and she's just a little bit, when she realizes how loud it actually is on stage, she's usually like, I'm out. This
Yeah.
is not for me.
It's not for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
But she went, the recorded songs she's super duper into, and she's on a bunch of those, and I just sort of capture her wandering around the house singing, and then I put it in the songs, and that's how we get that done.
That's awesome.
Which is super fun.
Our kids, like when they were little, Luke especially, like did not want to, if we were like, he was doing something cute, and as soon as you pop out a video camera, he'd like shut down. We'd have to like hide the camera around the corner so we could like capture a moment, and then he's like looking around trying to see where we've got it hidden. We've got all these videos of him. He's a little more out like performative now, but yeah, when he was little, no go.
Yeah, and I totally get that. Like, sometimes I'm not feeling camera ready either, kid. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, but as parents, like, it's our job, right?
I mean, like, sometimes kids don't realize how incredible they are. Mm-hmm. It's like my son, it's just to pump him up a little bit more, he's better at drawing stuff than I have ever been in my entire life, and he's 10. And it's been like several years that's been that way. So
Right.
I'm just like, just trying to let him know, like, no, what you're doing is pretty remarkable. I mean, maybe if you were still at this level when you're 30, like maybe that's not as remarkable, but you're going to keep getting better at it.
Right,
So,
right.
dude, watch out.
Yeah.
Get that.
Yeah. I don't know that anyone's like publicly accused us of bragging on our kids, but I think as parents, like it's an important part of that, to let them know that you really do recognize their talents and their abilities. And, I might not be the most objective person to like say how great they are, but they're great. And I hope they know that,
Yeah. I've only had one video or one Instagram reel go viral, and it was of my son. So do you know the Corn Kids song? Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay.
Oh yeah.
It's corn.
Yeah,
a
yeah.
big lump with knobs. That one. What is his name? Schmoyo or whatever that sort of auto-tuned that.
Auto-tune the news guys.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. So he made this song that was from a recess therapy reel, and he made a song out of it just about how much this kid loves corn. And so my son, we were at like this farm place where they have those like corn pits. I don't know if you've ever been to something like this, but it's like a ball pit, but it's all like kernels of
I've seen
corn.
Pictures, have not experienced it. Yeah.
So in Minnesota, this is easier to experience,
Yeah.
I'm sure, than in Southern California. So my son holds up, they had like toys in the ball pit, and he's got like different corn toys in his hands, and he holds them up and he sings the song. And then without me knowing it, or obviously anybody watching, he turns around and does a front flip into the corn. And I was like, that was cool. I didn't expect him to do that. And the thing on Thanksgiving Day, I put it up a few days before Thanksgiving, and then on Thanksgiving it got like 8,000 likes or something like that. And I'm like, look, the internet is doing a thing. That's weird. And the views were at like 30 or 40,000 or something. I'm just like, that's bananas. So
That's awesome.
People must have been sort of like on Thanksgiving Day going, hey, have you seen the Corn Kid thing? And then they watch that and then they go, hey, what's this other one? And so anyway, if I could replicate that with every video, that would be nice.
Yeah. You never know like
You
what's
never
gonna
know
hit.
what's
It's
gonna
always
hit.
weird,
Yeah, usually piggybacking off of something else is the way to go, but I'm just like, I create new stuff.
So let's see. You said you performed at your son's school. Have you done other like live performances? Have you gotten to go to other schools or anything yet? Or
So over the last 2 years, like I started by doing solo stuff. So I was recording and producing myself. So all I would have to do was take out the vocal, and then I would, export it. I put it onto an actual iPod, like the things that people don't use anymore. And then I would plug it into this little speaker system that I have, and I would like karaoke my own songs.
Okay.
So I did that for like I could wander around to classrooms and like perform. And I would go for it. So like my voice would be shot after like the third classroom, or like the first one, honestly. 'Cause I was sort of getting used to how to do this again. And I did some libraries and stuff. And then, what was that? A few months ago with my guitar player, Josh, who recently joined, we did a thing at Children's Hospital in Minneapolis, and we performed for some kids there, and they have it on like their closed circuit TV. And it's this
cool.
whole like show that they put on where they like ask you a bunch of interview questions and stuff, play games and stuff. And so we did that, and then performed as a whole band for the first time at my kids' school recently. And now we have coming up, we've got another duo performance at Children's again later this month. And then when is that? Yeah, that's later this month. On June 9th, for anyone that happens to be in my area, NPR has hired us to play this thing they call Rock the Cradle. It's this thing that like 9,000 people came to last year, and we're playing on this huge outdoor stage.
Whoa.
It's like the children's music festival, but there's only like 4 children's bands playing it, and we're one of them. So I'm super excited about that. And then later in the summer, we're playing at a bunch of parks and stuff. Just various park programs that have music on like Wednesday mornings. We're like rocking this hard at like 10:30 in the morning is going to be a trip. But I'm super excited about it.
That's awesome.
That's going to bring back those like church vibes where like it's like the 8:30 service and you're like, okay,
Yep.
here we go. So yeah, some cool stuff coming up this summer that I'm super excited about. So yeah, the full band live thing is kind of just getting its legs, but we've got like 6 or 7 shows lined up, all at riffingriffin.com, and all in Minnesota, by the way. If you're gonna have to let me know if you want me to get out of Minnesota and come somewhere else.
We're actually going to be in Minnesota this summer.
Really?
But
So
okay, later we'll have to like
check
afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, you just start by going to riffingriffin.com and check the shows tab and just see if there's one. But you know, even if there's not, maybe we can hang for an hour or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll connect after the show here.
Sounds great.
Janelle's throwing a link to riffingriffin.com in the comments, by the way, for those of you who are watching live or checking this out later on Facebook.
Nice. Should I send that that playlist I was talking about in case anyone's interested in sort of some of the children's music stuff?
That'd be great.
Okay, what's the best place to send? Should I just send you an email?
Could you Facebook message it?
I can do that.
Yeah, but are you logged in?
Yeah, I'm logged in a pop.box.
Okay, yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Because then I can
I'll do
put
that.
it on right now.
Perfect. This is good.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. So while you're doing that, Janelle's going to get that posted there. We have some other stuff that you sent, a couple other videos that we're going to share here. The next one is really fun, and it's like a book that you adapted into a song. Tell us about this here.
So one of the songs I used to read to my kids a lot was a Sandra Boynton book called Barnyard Dance. And it's just, I mean, you know, when you read it, it feels, you know, it's this book that you can read if you're going through it fast. You can get through it in like a minute. It's one of those kinds of books.
Yeah.
And when you're an adult and you read to your kids a lot, especially before they go to bed or whatever, before nap times, you're doing this multiple times a day. You just end up like, we all know that boredom is one of the greatest sources of creativity. And so I would just start like sort of singing or rapping or making these books into something. Or I would just sometimes I would pick up a book and I go 1, 2, 3, 4. And I would just start seeing if I could stay on some sort of pattern while reading this thing that didn't necessarily rhyme or whatever. So Barnyard Dance ended up like I actually recorded it. So I sent it over to my friend Chris Fleming, who's just this amazing drummer, and I was like, "Hey, can you? This is really actually pretty hard. Can you figure this out?" And he just nailed it. A lot of drummers have told me that my stuff sends them, you know, throwing drumsticks and cursing, but eventually it just ends up so great. So. Yeah, so Barnyard Dance by Sandra Boynton in like the sort of rock and roll style that I enjoy.
Awesome. All right, let's check out Barnyard Dance.
This is Barnyard Dance by Sandra Boynton. Are you ready? Stomp with your feet, clap with your hands. Everybody ready for a barnyard dance? Bow to the horse, bow to the cow. Twirl with the pig if you know how. Bounce with the bunny, strut with the duck. Spin with the chickens out, cluck, cluck, cluck. With a baa and a moo and a cock-a-doodle-doo. Everybody promenade 2 by 2. 2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
Prancing with the horses, skiddle with the mice. Swing with your partner once or twice. Stand with the donkeys, slide with the sheep. Scramble with the little chicks, cheek, cheek, cheek. With a neigh and a moo and a cockle-doodle-doo. Another little promenade 2 by 2. 2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2.
Come on, Rocker with the turkey, Leaper with the dog. Take another spin with the barnyard dog. Turn with the cow in the patch of clover. All take a bow and the dance is over. With an oink and a moot and a quackity quack, the dance is done, but we'll be back. What?
So good.
So fun.
That's great. So you sent this. He drummed after the fact to this.
I mean, that's I make demos to a click. I send it to one of my drummer friends, and then they drum on it and they send it back. And usually I want to tighten everything back up,
Yeah.
and then I add bass, and I'll basically redo everything. So I'll send them usually like a 1 guitar, 1 vocal, and then once I hit the drums, I have the scaffolding to like build everything back again.
That's cool. Oh, that was
which
super
is
fun.
Super fun. Yeah. Yeah. So that I can see how somebody older might be like, "Oh, yeah, that's too young for me," but also like that kind of
Yeah.
rocks. I kind of like it. So
It puts a huge smile on your face. Like you can't help but smile at that.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I've thought about doing it. There's a number of other books that are candidates for that. Eventually I might get to them.
Have you sent that to the author by any chance?
No. I never know what the response is going to be.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, are they going to be mad? There's a possibility they're going to be mad. So maybe I just won't. Plus, like, I don't know. I don't feel like Sandra Boynton's that easy to get a hold of. But maybe I should. Maybe it's time.
I that's up to you. But I could also see someone being like, "This is awesome," like, look what they did with my book. I don't know. That's how I would be anyway.
So if you go to YouTube, as you might imagine with any sort of popular children's book, and you go to YouTube, you find these videos with like, "Okay, kids, let's read Barnyard Dance. Stomp your feet, clap your hands."
Mm-hmm.
And these videos have like 500,000 views or something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be hilarious if someone was looking for something like that and they got my video and they were like, "Whoa, what is happening here?" But it didn't have the same kind of legs as some of those other videos.
That would be the one I'd show as a teacher.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
The algorithm doesn't love me yet.
But you never know. You never know when it's gonna hit.
You never know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our kids said that song will definitely be stuck in my head for a while. And then they put all the barnyard emojis.
Nice. My wife has this thing she does on Friday. She teaches 8th grade English language arts. And so they have, she'll show a couple of fun videos on Fridays. And recently she decided to show a couple Riffin Griffin videos. And she showed that one. And all day long, the kids would be like walking, or she'd see them walking away in the hallway. And they'd be like, 2 by 2! I'd be like, that's amazing. I love that.
That's awesome. Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. I totally relate to that. If the kids have like a book they want you to read over and over again, I wish I had thought of this when I was reading the kids like little stuff, but Now we read books together still, but it's like older novels, and I don't think it would work for like a long form thing. So
Nope. Nope. There are
yeah,
certain books it's nope. If there's there's a certain picture to word ratio that must happen for
yeah,
that to
that's
work.
right.
Yeah.
We're not quite wrapping like all of Fahrenheit 451 or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay, but how amazing would that be?
I mean, I just putting it out there, if that might be one to consider.
Yeah, if it probably a 7-8 hour song might not be what you want, but be
You
neat.
do it by chapter,
Yep, break it up a
chapter
little
one.
bit. Totally.
All right. Well, anyway. Okay, so one more video that you sent my way. This is really cool. This is a school anthem. Tell us about this.
So, Minnesota has a really big state fair. So, I sometimes get dragged to it and sometimes I'm excited about it, but we were there and I get this email from my kid's principal and it's like urgent musical request and I'm like, okay. And she's like, hey, before this, because this is always happening right before the school year starts, the state fair. And she says, hey, can you drum up a new school anthem for our school? Like, we'd like to unveil it right around the first day of school. I'm like, what's your deadline? She's like, can you get it done by, Friday or something? I'm like, okay. So I'm walking around the state fair and I'm like, okay, she wants some of these lyrics in there and like I can write some new lyrics and like, okay. So I came up with it while I was walking around, came home, recorded it into my phone and sent it to her and she's like, that's great, do that. So then I sent it over to a different drummer friend of mine named Ish Mensa and he just crushed it and sent it back to me like the next day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing school theme song I've ever heard. And so that's what this is. This was the other song that my son performed with us at that show. He did 2 songs with us. And so my son's on the first half and then my daughter's on the second half. So you get to hear both kids on this one.
Awesome. Well, let's check it out. This is the Sunnyside School Anthem.
Stay on the sunny side. Always on the sunny side. Stay on the sunny side. Stay on the sunny side. Always on the sunny side. Stay on the sunny side. Take a walk, take a car, ride a bike or a bus. By the time you arrive, you'll be one of us. On the path we have learned, the journey's just begun. The sunny side's much more fun. Stay on the sunny side. Always on the sunny side. Stay on the sunny side. Stay on the sunny side. Always on the sunny side. Stay on the sunny side.
That's great. Now, they actually used it like at school functions and stuff, do you know?
Okay, so we sang it for the kids at the school, and they all knew the words, and they were singing like so loud. It was the best.
That's awesome.
So yes, this has become like part of their music curriculum. It's bananas.
That's so cool.
Fantastic.
It's super fun. It's super fun, like, just to have something that has. I'm part of this children's music Facebook group, and like a bunch of the people in there have Grammys. It's wild, and so I'm get to communicate with all these different children's musicians, and it seems like the songs when you put them online or whatever, they just have more legs. They have more longevity. They stick with kids for longer. So I'm just excited about the fact that I don't know how long they're going to be using this song, but it could be, much longer than my kids are there. Could be for a really long time, and it's really cool.
That's so awesome. Yeah, because I mean, I still remember the kid songs that I listened to as a kid, maybe that I haven't heard for years. Used to listen to a lot of Raffi. Are you familiar with Raffi?
Oh, I know Raffi. My wife and I had a conversation last week about which Raffi song is the most Rage Against the Machineable. So we'll see.
I mean, I have a strong opinion on it, but what did you come up with?
I we hit like on some of the most popular songs, but I wasn't convinced that any of them would fit. What do you think?
Joshua Giraffe, easy,
Okay. Okay,
right?
making note of this.
Okay,
What
are you
about
familiar with it?
Banana Phone?
I don't think so,
Banana Phone
actually.
is great, but Joshua Giraffe has like nothing can go wrong. Go, I'm in the Congo. Even in
that's
his dream,
true.
they
He
knew
does rap
they'd never
on
get
it.
away. Not even for he almost is rapping on it already.
Okay, now we're talking.
I'm telling you, check out
Cover.
Joshua Giraffe.
Cover.
Okay.
Yeah. And it says
Dude.
balloon bottom in it, which our kids always crack up at. And
Awesome.
what's the other? There's like another like bathroom joke in there.
Yeah.
Like there's at least two. So, that always gets some good mileage as well.
Okay, this is good because I've been thinking about making a covers record as well. That's another thing that's sort of swimming around in the back of my mind.
That's awesome.
And it feels like it would be complete. It would be incomplete without a Raffi song
Yeah.
because so many people reference him when they're talking about children's music that it's just that it was the first sort of tolerable children's music that they ever heard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely wanted thinking about doing the Corn Kid song, like that's on the list, and this Perry Grip song called Neon Pegasus, and then have you heard what is it? Do the Propeller by the Wiggles? Because that is it's a jam.
I've heard a lot of Wiggles. I don't know if that one in particular I'm familiar with, but
It feels a little bit next level for the Wiggles, so I think I could do something with that.
more than cold spaghetti.
Yeah, maybe with some work. Yeah, like the fruit salad one. Maybe,
salad,
maybe
yummy,
not as,
yummy.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a classic, but
What about, are you familiar with Eric Herman by any chance? Is that name right?
no, you might need to send me some stuff.
Yeah, he's really great. I mean, we discovered him when Audrey
was
was
our
real little.
kid,
And that was
yeah.
like one of her favorites, and Luke as well, but Audrey in particular, like loved him. And he's still performing and stuff too. I forget, he does it with the band now. It's like Eric Herman and the,
I'll look it up.
just so I can like properly represent him. Super cool.
Okay.
Might be some fun stuff in there too. And
Nice.
has like, I mean, it's not as like hard rocking, but reminds me of some of the things that you're doing. He's got a lot of just fun, silly stuff. And also, I'm assuming it's his kids, or maybe it's his like kids that are in his life, but he has like a lot of kid voices that perform with him, So
Eric Herman and the Invisible Band.
the Invisible Band, that's the subtitle. When at first it was just Eric Herman, but then his more recent things have been Invisible Band. So anyway,
Very cool. I will
Yeah.
check that out. That sounds awesome. Relatively like well known, or just like more like me.
I don't know. Like, I mean, we got CDs and videos and stuff. Where did we even
Okay.
discover him? Do you remember?
He went across the country doing assemblies.
That's right.
Okay.
He did like school assemblies,
That
and
was
that's where we
his-
heard about him
that's
first.
what he-
Did you actually see him in the assembly, or it was just?
No, I looked at bringing him out, but he was, I think, from Washington, and it cost a lot to fly.
That's right. But through that, then
But if you could go to Washington,
yeah.
you could catch a show.
Anyway.
I do have some comments.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Some comments.
So Tony says kids love energy. We know Tony,
That's right.
and he is a former principal. I should not say former, retired.
Retired and performer of a lot of kid music at various things.
Yes.
So you should know.
And then Audrey said, "I want Jesse to write my school anthem. My high school's alma mater needs some work."
Okay, so this is something that I want to do more of. So if there's somebody that needs one of those, let me know. I usually do like hire a musician or two to help me make it, so I can't do it for free, but I totally would love to do that.
That's pretty
It's
awesome.
pretty awesome.
So shoot me an email. If you go to riffingriffin.com, that my email address is there. Riffinggriffinmusic@gmail.com. I try to I keep tabs on all the messaging services, on all the different socials, so I'm a pretty easy
So
guy to get a
cool.
hold of. Yeah.
That would be
So
really
let me
cool.
know. Let me know. I'd love to do that.
Right.
High school though, I'd have to work at that one for sure.
It's an interesting challenge.
I think it goes.
I think, yeah, absolutely. Audrey's really involved in the like theater department there. She does improv and plays. She just wrote and directed a play, and so
So she's
she has
very
like the
big into
connections with the
creative
music
arts.
type of people there. So
That sounds awesome.
that could be interesting. All right, excellent.
Can I say one more thing before we go? Can I plug something?
Absolutely, please do, please do.
Okay, so I've been talking a lot about riffingriffin.com. If you go there, we have a merch store. I'm wearing the shirt. We got
Nice.
shirts. We got stickers. We got pins and
Awesome.
holographic stickers and keychains, and guitar picks come with every purchase. And I will go to the post office, mail them to you, and these are available there as well. My
Yes.
solo record. So that's the place if you're looking to support this project or just want cool swag. That's the place to go.
Awesome, awesome. Yes, please. I know Janelle, you put that link in there.
Well, I'm putting the merch.
Putting the merch link specifically. Excellent. Now, you also have a Bandcamp page for Jesse Norell. Is there a Riffin Griffin Bandcamp page?
Phil, you're always the one that asks me about that. And I should make that happen. But like you said, sometimes when sometimes it becomes unmanageable when you're on too many things.
That's
so
true.
I pay a lot of attention to Spotify and like less attention to Apple Music, for example,
Right.
or like YouTube Music. Like the stuff is on there, but I'm actively trying to push Spotify. And my distributor doesn't automatically distribute to Bandcamp.
Yeah.
So that's eventually I did do that, like basically for you.
I bought it.
with
I
the other,
bought it.
and thank you for that.
So it was worth
I
putting it
really
on there.
appreciated that. Yes, it was. But the other thing is that people might be able to stumble upon your stuff on Spotify. I found that I pushed people over to check out Bandcamp, and on that one day, it had like 300 streams or whatever, and then that was it. Like
Yeah.
0 since then. So anyway, for me, it's about finding that balance of
Yeah.
like what can I do, what can I continue to manage, but. So I think the next thing that Riffin Griffin is going to put out is going to be an album. And I'm not going to lie, that people are going to think I'm nuts. But part of the reason is that there's no Grammy for Best Children's Song. There's only a Grammy for Best Children's Album. So the next thing I want to put out is an album.
I don't think that's nuts at all. I mean, that can't be like. I know there's a lot of kid musicians out there, but it's not as broad of a category as like if you're just rock band of the year. Like.
That's it. That's
That's
exactly
interesting.
right.
That's pretty great. And you have such a unique take. It's pretty cool.
I think that we won't get nominated because people will be like, this isn't children's music. Or it could actually go the opposite way. And
Right.
people could be like,
This is totally unique.
Yeah, this is
Yep.
the deal. It'll probably be pretty split on that regard. So far we've only released singles, although I am planning on putting that into a compilation record. And then once it's in sort of that fully fledged form where I can do it all at once rather than keeping tabs on it every time I release a single, I'll probably get a Bandcamp thing
All right.
going after that.
I understand that, and I appreciate you putting it out there, at least for me, so I have it on my phone.
All right. For you, Phil, I will do it. Sometimes you need that nudge, so you're
Yeah.
giving me the nudge. So
Good.
I will put it on my to-do list.
Well, and, okay, so here's the cool thing with Bandcamp. You can download the songs as well. You get like the nice files. And so I like for our kids, I make them like mix CDs because I'm old school and they have CD players in the room because they're our kids, right?
Nice.
And so on Luke's, like, because they like to listen to music when they fall asleep and they want to have like a curated playlist, right? So I made them mix CDs and he wanted to have Ode to Luigi on his. So
Nice.
every night when he goes to bed, and this has been since Christmas, he listens to one of your songs. So
Wow.
and
That's wild.
it's his favorite. So
That's amazing. That would, out of all the songs on that record, that would be the last one I would want to go to sleep to.
he likes energetic stuff to go to sleep.
But obviously, yeah, that song could definitely make a Riffin Griffin set eventually.
Yeah.
We're playing You Are at shows already, and we're playing a celebration of the ADA Act, Americans with Disabilities Act, and so we're playing at that, and so we'll be playing the You Are and the Lucky Few at that one. It sounds like we might be joined by this camp that they're doing with kids with Down syndrome on stage and performing with us. So anyway,
That's awesome.
so yes, those songs are still sort of getting some spin.
That's
with
good.
this.
Well, as before, I cannot recommend the Aorta Borealis album enough. For those who are watching, please check that out as well, because that has been in constant rotation at our house. So
Awesome.
definitely check that out. And as you mentioned earlier, at least right now, that's kind of like super pertinent because everyone around the country is seeing the Aurora Borealis at night. So
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that's the big metaphor with that record for sure. Yeah.
Well, Jesse, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming back on the show. It's always a treat to have you, and I'm excited that we might be able to touch base this summer for a little bit.
I would love that. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Phil. It's always great to see you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Janelle, of course, as always, for helping run everything.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Janelle.
And thank you, everyone, for watching, whether you're watching on YouTube or watching live right now or whenever it is. We appreciate your support. And we've got a little bit more Pop Vox Presents before we take our summer break. So keep an eye out for upcoming stuff. And I think that's going to do it. Thank you again, Jesse. Check out riffingriffin.com, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone, and have a great weekend. And Mother's Day. Don't forget it's Mother's Day tomorrow if you're watching live. Mother's Day. All right. Good night, everybody.